Brunson out to Bridges, right wing. Brunson's open, right corner, three-pointer. It's good! Jalen Brunson pushed the Knicks in front with a clutch three-pointer. 1:50 to go. They're up by 2.
Joining 9 to noon is Johnny Athletic, Jon Krawczynski with The Athletic, theathletic.com. Good morning. And the Knicks stole the first one from San Antonio. We just heard a Jalen Brunson highlight. Jalen, as you know, because you're an elite basketball mind and you watched every minute last night, Jalen was having a rough time last night. Then Karl Anthony Towns ignited some things. Jalen got ignited. Josh Hart does what he does. Is that the best you've seen Karl Anthony Towns play? And when I say best, Johnny, I mean most responsible. 18, 12, 2 turnovers, 4 offensive rebounds, tied for most in the game. He was at peace, as he said after the game. What do you think of all that, and good morning?
Good morning, PA. Yeah, I mean, certainly I would say the way that I've characterized watching Cat play in these playoffs is it's the most in control I think I've seen him look. Yeah. I mean, we've seen him score more points. We've seen him grab more rebounds. We've seen him have bigger numbers, hit more threes, all of those kinds of things. But one of the things that had kind of haunted Cat over the years is the turnovers, the foul trouble, even maybe a little too much arguing with officials, things like that always got in the way. These playoffs, and certainly last night, nothing's getting in the way. He's just getting out there. He's making the simple play. He's making the smart, intelligent reads. He's playing great defense. And he's just really rising to the occasion. And it's been really fun to watch as someone who has always thought that he kind of got some unfair scrutiny. To see him having this moment and playing the way that he's playing is really cool to see.
So with Cat or without him, what did the Knicks do to free Brunson late?
Yeah, I think that one thing that they did that the Thunder weren't able to do as well, that the Wolves weren't able to do as well in the Western Conference playoffs, is that they just had great spacing and a real idea of where they were going to find open looks. And so when you are able to do that in the first 3.5 quarters, PA, and, I think Cat was really just important in that part of it, is then it really required the Spurs to extend their defense on all 5 guys on the court. Everyone had to be guarded. And so that opened lanes and gave Brunson a few more one-on-one opportunities than maybe Shea was able to get, maybe Ant was able to get, those kinds of things, because the Spurs could kind of ignore Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle with the way that he was shooting against the Wolves. They could ignore Lou Dort. They could ignore Chet Holmgren against the Thunder because they were struggling or just not shooting. There's no one that they can ignore on New York right now, and they all can hit shots. They all can make plays, and it just stressed that San Antonio defense to the kind of breaking point last night. And once Jalen Brunson found his lanes, he attacked them relentlessly and aggressively, and it made a huge difference.
Hey, back to Cat for a second, Johnny. Is this a function of his maturity or growth personally, or is it a tribute to what is around him with Brunson and Bridges and Hart and some of the leadership on that team? Because his decision making has been vastly different. It's smarter basketball, and he is just playing with no restrictions, and it's as good as it's gotten.
Yeah, I think there's a combination of things, Nordo. I mean, certainly having the people around him that he does helps. I think, maturity, being older now, 29, I think right now, 28, somewhere right around there for Cat. That helps him a lot, no doubt about it. But also, I just think that one of the things when you watch him play, especially in these moments, I know that he did not play well against Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. I know that he had a few other situations like that, but in these moments against big guys that he is guarding, Jokic, Wembanyama, Kevin Durant, he rises to the occasion. I do think that for a long time, and even including last year in New York, people looked at him and maybe looked at some of the ways that he answered questions, maybe some of the animation on the court and things like that, and let that sort of cloud who he was as a player and what he was able to do. And I think that just he has eliminated some of that other ancillary stuff. And so now that there's not as much to pick on, and now you just watch him play basketball, and this is what he is capable of doing. And so he just, he talked about it. He feels a calm or a peace about him. He's not trying to do too much. He's not trying to be something that he's not. And so when he is understanding who he is as a player and as a person, then he's just able to go out there and play clear-headed, and that's, I think, what we're seeing the most right now.
How much trouble, if any, are the San Antonio Spurs in?
I mean, they're in trouble for sure, PA. I do think that it's really important, to set the context here, because they were down 1-0 against the Wolves, and they came back and won. They were down 2-1 and 3-2, I think, against the Thunder. Came back and won. This is a really resilient team. They're super well coached. They're incredibly talented. And so there's always the way that the NBA is covered now and analyzed. It's very much like football, where if you win one game, you're never going to lose again. And if you lose one game, you're never going to win again. And this is a series, and it's going to be a long series. And I think that Mitch Johnson and Sean Sweeney will figure some things out and make some adjustments, and they will play better in game 2. I also think the Knicks can play a lot better going forward, PA. So I think this is the biggest challenge for them in terms of a matchup. I think the Knicks present problems that the Spurs are going to have a harder time solving, but I still think that they will play a lot better, that they will win games, that they will push this thing, very far. And it's just going to go back and forth. That's the way that these two teams are really, really good, really evenly matched, and there's going to be swings in this series both ways.
In my estimation, if you eliminate Wemby, OG Anunoby is the best overall defensive player in the series, and Wemby's that largely due to his transcendent size. But the Knicks, do you believe the Knicks cohesively may be a better defensive team than San Antonio?
It's possible. I do think it's possible. I will say this. Where I think San Antonio has an edge defensively is I don't think that there is a weak spot to attack in that starting five.
Right.
Champagnie is a little bit, bad. Fox has his moments, but Jalen Brunson is a bad defender. And so if the Spurs can kind of scheme things up and get him a little bit more on an island, I think that there is a clear weak point in New York's defense that can be exploited a little bit more than San Antonio. So I just think that they're a little bit more well-rounded. But I expect the Spurs, with their size and their strength, to assert themselves a little bit more going forward. Last PA, the big factor right now is, what if Wemby's just really tired? He's played a ton of minutes. They played a bunch of games. They won 7 against the Thunder. Yeah. If he's a little worn down, isn't what he, doesn't have a full tank of gas, that might be cause for the Knicks to take that belt and be a better defensive team in aggregate.
Every team could use a Josh Hart. Selfless, grinds, one of the better smallish player rebounders in the NBA. Every team could use a Josh Hart, right?
100%. He's such a winning player. You had Finchie on yesterday, and he coached Josh Hart in New Orleans and just has a huge respect for everything that he brings to the game. He's like the Wolves version of DiVincenzo, where he's going to get his nose in there. He's going to grab rebounds. He's going to dive on the floor for loose balls. He's going to defend multiple positions. The big, huge stride that Hart has made this season is he be a player that you did not have to respect on the offensive end, that you could leave wide open, and that would be no problem. He shot 41% from 3 this year during the regular season, 50%, 51% from the field. So he's become a much more efficient offense player, and when he added that to his game, now there's no way to get him off the court other than foul trouble. And so you're looking at a selfless guy, just a glue extraordinaire that every championship team needs a player like that, and he's absolutely one of the best in the league when it comes to glue guys.
I brought this up last segment with PA. Just one thing I've kind of noticed throughout the postseason, and well, I really started to notice it in the Wolves Spurs series. It's got to be injury or something like that, because I think De'Aaron Fox has been one of the most unproductive Spurs now into 2 full series and 1 game. Watching him last night, starting games absolutely ice cold. He missed time in the OKC series. I don't know if it means you start Harper or you try to short shift, but I think De'Aaron Fox is starting to become an issue for them that needs to be solved for them to bounce back.
Yeah. Been, throughout the Wolves series, Nordo, every time that the ball was in Fox's hands, those were the times where I felt most comfortable about Wolves defensively, because he just isn't shooting the ball well. He had that ankle injury, so that might play a role in it a little bit, but and he had a good Game 7 against Oklahoma City, but than that, they haven't gotten the veteran leadership that out of him, and it can be really difficult in the political realm of the NBA to sit him down because he makes a $225 million contract. And so do you down? But I just thought that Harper did not play nearly enough last night. He was so good, and so poised and so dynamic that, when you talk about are the Spurs in trouble, one of the clear adjustments, if they have the guts to make it, is to play Harper a lot more and Fox a lot less. And I think, you will see them do that as this series goes along, if it doesn't shake out of this really kind of shooting slump that he's been in for most of the playoffs.
With Finchy here yesterday, I left it feeling trades are on the horizon. I mean, we're not breaking news here, but I mean, trades are on the horizon for the Timberwolves, right?
Yeah, absolutely, PA. I mean, I think that, you look at what this team has done over the last 3 years, and it's sayable. This is the golden age of Timberwolves basketball, with how competitive they've been, with all of the games that they've won, with the playoff series, of those things. But you do look at the landscape of the league, and you look at where Oklahoma City is, and you look at where San Antonio is in the West. They are not going there. And I do not believe that the Timberwolves are one of teams that will look at those two teams and these guys are too tough. We're gonna, slide back, take a gap and wait these guys out. No, they're gonna try and go at the Spurs, and to do that, they are going to have to make some pretty significant changes. I think something in the front court with that Rudy Julius kind of parent will probably have to give, and then something adding some handling and shooting in the backcourt around Anthony Edwards is a possibility as well. And so I anticipate that the starting lineup on Game 1 of next season is going to be different than the starting lineup in Game 6 against San Antonio. And I don't know if it's Giannis, I don't know if it's Kyrie, I don't know who it is, but I would expect that they're going to try and take a swing here to dramatically change how this team looks, or at least how it's built around them, a different look and a different chance to go against the big heavy hitters in the West here.
Would they be comfortable parting with Jaden McDaniels?
I would be very reluctant. Someone like Giannis, do you think long and hard about it? Yeah, I think you do. But given Jaden's age, given what we saw, and things like that, I just would be really, really hesitant to do it. And here's the other scenario that you think about, PA, in terms of maybe you cannot get a Giannis, maybe you cannot get a bona fide number 2 to come in here, to be Ant's real wingman. What if that is Jaden? What if more opportunity offensively opens up through other moves, and Jaden is elevated to number 2. I think that he may have that in him if you give him that role. And so it would take a really special opportunity for me to part with Jaden McDaniels. He's not untouchable. Ant is the only untouchable player on this roster, in my opinion, but it'd have to be something major to say goodbye to him.
Jonny, PA brought up something last week, I believe, and it was kind of the idea, are you making trades to just improve your roster, become a better team? And anybody that isn't hoisting the trophy is trying to get better, certainly. But is it that philosophy versus I'm making a trade to compete with what I just saw in the Western Conference Finals with OKC and Wemby, et cetera? So, and sometimes that's the same answer, but you think about like how Rudy kind of solved the Jokic situation and the ability to overcome Denver. And now we're looking at 2 completely different animals in the West with San Antonio and OKC. Where do you think that philosophy is with Connolly and the Wolves and really trying to chase a couple of potential juggernauts at the top?
Yeah, I think that to me, the approach to look at with how they're going to do things is not, hey, we made this one move, now we are Spurs-proof, or now we are Thunder-proof, something like that. I do think that what is going to be key for this next season and the next couple as they kind of change the roster and evolve it is, how does everything complement Anthony Edwards to a better degree? Does that mean you add more ball handling to take some of the pressure off of him as the lead ball handler? Does that mean you get a big who can space the floor a little bit more than Rudy can? Just kind of give him something that's a different look that maybe maximizes Edwards more so than you look at it and say, oh, you made this move, and so now the Thunder have nothing that they can do against you, because I just don't think that move is available to them necessarily. And so it's going to be, I think, more designed to just make this roster even fit better around what Anthony Edwards does really well and complement him. And then you hope that if that happens, then you get even a little bit better Ant, and maybe you get a kind of a 5-man unit that just fits together a little bit cleaner, and that gives you a better chance against those 2 teams.
Jonny K, Jon Krawczynski, Johnny Athletic, theathletic.com. How much do you enjoy working with Chris Finch along the lines or compared with, say, Tibbs or Rambis or the Saunders, Ryan and Flip?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough now to be doing this a long time to work with a lot of different coaches. There's never been any coach that I've covered that I didn't figure out a way to get along with and work with and be productive with, but they're certainly different. And I would say that Chris Finch and Flip have been the 2 that have taught me the most, I would say, just about basketball, that have sort of opened the curtain and really let me understand the team dynamics, understand the X's and O's, understand the reasons for decisions that were being made. And I just really appreciate that. And what I tell every coach who I cover is, the more educated I am on this, the less I'm going to be wrong when I'm writing, and the more educated then the fans are going to be, and they're going to understand why you make decisions and what goes into every move and things of that nature. And when you have that understanding, which Chris Finch does an unbelievable job of letting us all in and helping us understand that, then it just becomes so much easier to look at people in his position, and the fan will say, oh, this guy's an idiot, why did he do this? And everyone who is in these positions is really a great basketball minds and stuff. Some of them can make big mistakes and things like that, but if you don't explain what is going on, then we have to guess. And then that's when I think coaches get in trouble with losing their grips on the job. Chris Finch really understands that, and he is secure enough in himself that if I have a question, I can ask him about it, and he will give me a real substantive answer that translates and lets me then give that to the fans. And then everyone is more educated on the situation. And so I'm always thankful for him for being open, being honest, and being accessible and understanding of the media's role. And I think he and Flip really did a great job with that. Ryan was great with that. Tibbs was much more closed off, but was always respectful of us, but just wasn't kind of willing to take that time. And so that was a little bit more of a challenge. Sam Mitchell was a little tougher, but Flip and Finch are just, right at the top there in terms of guys who I can learn from and are open to teaching me on a daily basis and don't see it as a waste of time. And so Amen. I can't even appreciate that enough.
Yeah, beautifully laid out. Last one. Which team is going to hire Finchie's 1A, Micah Nori? Portland, Dallas, or Chicago? And which job is most preferable? Probably Dallas because of Cooper Flagg, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely Dallas because of Cooper Flagg, because of the resources with the ownership group. And because of there's not a real pressure to win there right away. You can go in and just grow with that young team and figure things out. They're transitioning. And so, I would say that would be the best opportunity. I think that from my reading of the tea leaves, it seems, and this is sort of a guess on my part, but it seems like Portland right now is one where Micah Nori is very heavily involved and has a real chance at. And, they have Thiago Splitter who was there, but the new owner is kind of shaking the trees and shaking things up in Portland. And so I think there's a real chance that Micah has an opportunity in Portland. Dallas has been very close vested in terms of with Masai and how their search is going. So it's harder for me to get a read on Dallas. And Chicago, they have a new regime as well. And I haven't heard Micah's name as directly floated in terms of a finalist or anything yet, but I think that it's a real possibility that he gets that one as well. So his name is certainly, he's right in the mix with all these. He's been in the mix for a lot of the positions over the last couple of years. And so I'm hoping for him that he gets one of them. He's deserving of it. He's a really good basketball mind. He'd be a great coach, great head coach, I think. But Dallas is definitely the best job of these three. It's just hard for me to handicap exactly where he sits in that race.
You're fantastic. Thank you for the elongated chat. Have a wonderful weekend, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, PA. Appreciate it.
Yep, see you, bud. Jonny Krawczynski, old Johnny Athletic, The Athletic, theathletic.com. Some football in a short segment around the corner, then the post game. Speaking of football, Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, just got a 4-year extension.
7-0 Vikings, 1st and 10 from the 25. Rodgers, deep shot. Man, uncovered, dropped at the 25-yard line. Two things there. A, if Patrick Peterson's going to cover like that all year, we're going to win one game. And B, Christian Watson, welcome to the NFL, my man.
The Fan would love to give you a shot to win $2,500. All you got to do, go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword travel. What a way you could travel if you won $2,500 with the keyword travel. Enter it in now, KFAN.com.
This is 9 to noon, live on iHeartRadio and KFAN, The Fan.
From the 1-800 Ask Gary Traffic Center.
This report.
What up? Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? You can make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant text line. Let us know what you have to say by sending your text message to 64686. That is 64686. And yes, naturally, standard data message rates do apply. Speaking of the text messages, kind of, one of the big talkers of the show today, and thanks to Alec Lewis joining us out of the gates. Busy day. He's at practice, probably right now. Ben Lieber, of course, weekly affair. Double duty this week. We had the EAS on Monday from Alec with the general manager news, and he joined us this morning, but Lieber in the mix as well. Is this audio from Tom Pelissero, who was with the Power Trip this morning, talking about the quarterback-related flexibility that new general manager Nolan Teasley has now with the Purple.
But certainly
you have, you have multiple options in the room. And you've got, potentially some things that you can look at doing here, depending on how this thing goes. And I'm not saying this, I don't know what direction they're going to go as you get closer to the season. Sure. But let's say Kyler wins the job, which if you had to lean one way or the other, sitting right here, I would say I would lean toward Kyler is the starting quarterback. Do you have JJ as the backup? Do you potentially look to trade him while there's still some intrigue within the league, and you might, be able to get more for him with 2 years left on his rookie contract than with 1 year left? Those are all things that I would think, you're going to talk through. I know that Kevin doesn't want to give up. He's said it himself in the past that organizations fail young quarterbacks before young quarterbacks fail organizations. At some point, though, you're going to have to make business decisions.
And J.J. McCarthy, by the way, he's only started 10 games. And, for me, this conversation, it's not that I had never considered the idea of trading J.J. McCarthy. What can the Vikings do this offseason? They want to get better. It's something to me, really from minute one, the idea of a true or really an open competition once you make the move for Kyler Murray. Just the 1.3. We know the Cards are carrying the rest of that big tab. But I never see... And I asked Ben Lieber this: how do you regain trust if you're J.J. McCarthy? Mediocrity, arm punts, injury issues aside, the book of business in front of Kyler Murray is much more expansive than what we've gotten to see out of the 10 games for J.J. McCarthy. And now the host of 9 to Noon has my head freaking spinning about Carson Wentz doing his thing early stages. At this particular moment, potentially Carson.
When I went down that road yesterday, I was thinking about you. You would have backed off the mic and said, "Oh, come on!
Oh, what are we doing here?"
Well, because seriously? It's, sorry to use a weird cliche, but it works. Because you know how the sausage is made.
Yes, I do know how the sausage is made.
Oh, great. I just moved I always love that one to the one below it. I don't know which one I killed, but we got to figure it out second. After the show.
We'll get it back during the break. My head's spinning on Carson.
Oh, come on.
The idea of gaining trust back with JJ, given that he'll be able to show certain things to Kevin O'Connell, which matter. But it's all in non-competitive environments. It just feels, I can't say it's a rigged game. I think best case for all involved with the Vikings is they're saying the kid we drafted 10th with 2 years left on his deal, that he emerges from the mist the best in show and the best in class with this quarterback room. Mm-hmm. But if that's not to be, the idea of potentially getting something in return for him. I included the back end of that little Pelissero clip. Again, podcast the whole thing. He goes into a bunch of stuff, like maybe the reps are going to start to change, maybe no longer 50-50. You start to see Kyler getting maybe the lion's share of the 1 reps as soon as this week. Great interview on the Power Trip with Tom Pelissero. But I included the back end of that because of Kevin O'Connell doesn't strike me as a guy that after 10 games, he's just going to pack it in unless he's seen all he needs to see.
Right.
And so similar to where we're all gripping at what the structure is going to look like and the leadership, and is it a triangle of authority? Is it collaboration, the cascading of information? Does Teasley get his own special gavel at meetings? We are on the outside and unable to really visualize that. And so it's a fascinating situation with mandatory minicamp on the horizon and then a summer to stew. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking to Papa from Ghana about the World Cup, and we're going to be stewing.
Are we?
He wants to join.
Papa Ghana! Papa!
Papa Ghana is back.
Is he local still?
He's still local, and he's ready to rock.
Oh, excellent. That'll be an 800-320-5326 if you don't mind.
So that conversation emerging really out of thin air for me, not just, hey, how's it looking at camp? And, how is Kyler Murray? As much as, the coach needs to put it on a platter for the new QB, how's the QB ingratiating themselves and adapting to what's going to be asked of him? Mm-hmm. It kind of just came out of left field for me, that particular idea. Not that I had never considered, I never considered it impossible.
Oh, come on.
But the idea, I never considered it impossible. I just never considered it on the front table. I have been very much tunnel vision-esque. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be Kyler or is it going to be JJ?
Yeah.
We know who's heavily favored, but the idea of moving on from him and Carson Wentz, the old steady Eddie that he could potentially be, being the backup into 2026. That was just a fascinating part of today's show that you sometimes never know what's going to pop up, and that was one of them for me.
Right, so just hit me with a yes or a no, given I'm obsessed with contextualizing and building layers from the baseline.
And sausage making.
All right, and how the sausage is made. Is Carson Wentz a more accomplished quarterback than Kyler Murray?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Given he's more experienced and has been here now 10 months, whatever, would it be surprising if Carson Wentz was more comfortable with the voluminous nature of the playbook?
As of June 4th, it would not be, that wouldn't be odd, I don't think at all.
Okay, so if the head coach has the quarterback goes to the line and you got to play, and you got 5 or 6 options off of it, which require nuance and layering of things per what you're seeing, who do we believe would be farther along in that process with the Minnesota Vikings, Carson Wentz or Kyler Murray?
Carson Wentz.
Okay. So if you just lay those things out like that, and say, we were to Kevin O'Connell was here right now, and we chatted like that with him, and he would probably, if he were to say yes, but like you said, it's June 4th. Okay, we understand that. But the genesis of the conversation is I believe all of that to be right.
Okay.
Despite limited repetitions, limited ops for Carson compared to the other two, I can't possibly believe if O'Connell, Wes Phillips, or Frank Smith, anybody associated with this offense, if they were to open a vein on June 4th and say, next week, you got a week to get ready for the game, and you got to win that game or you don't get to play in the 2026 season, and you play these guys, that they would trust Carson Wentz the most of all of them. That as of now, that's not far-fetched, right?
I do not believe that's far-fetched.
Okay. The genesis here is I want it to be like that in training camp, simply because it kind of falls in the vein of it's like when people, like, we can feel both of our feet.
Yes.
But when somebody can't feel one of their feet and they're like your surrogate brother and we joke around with them and stuff, makes us laugh.
It does make us laugh.
Okay, well, I would find it to be interesting, intriguing, and kind of humorous if we're in the second week of August and Wentz is tearing it up every time everybody sees him, because it's like last year, Brosmer did it, okay? But that's an undrafted guy from the University of Minnesota.
Right.
Rubber's going to meet the road. Well, Carson's rubber already has met the road.
Yeah.
So what if we're watching training camp and it clearly is in front of us, this guy is doing it right every single time. The other guys are doing it right 3 out of 5 times. So the closer you get to the season, what's the line of delineation when it comes to, well, I mean, how far do you take this?
Yeah.
I mean, who plays against Green? You know what I mean?
If Carson,
I just want there to be consternation with this.
I know you do. And so just in terms of 9 to noon and where we are and the joking aspect of it, it would be unbelievable.
Oh, best ever.
It would be unbelievable.
Because it's not an undrafted guy or a 5th-round guy or a Spencer Rattler out of nowhere, a Carson Beck out of nowhere. It's like, holy cow, see that double move he just put Jay Sean Jones on? Okay, well, we got it. The regular season's different.
It is.
Carson's seen everything.
He has, which would mean that him balling in mid-August would be different than a Brosmer or any of those guys from a how can we project that forward standpoint. In truth, so simultaneously, I would laugh endlessly about it. We would have amazing segments. It would be
Carson.
It would be an unmitigated disaster.
What just happened, Nardo? Carson to Addison for 75, double move on Murphy. Carson set it up with a shoulder shake. Hey! Hey!
Well, that would be just keeping your attention when we're on the perch during training camp shows would be the toughest part.
The best.
It would be a disaster, though. It would be a disaster.
Why?
Because it would speak to a couple things. That the marriage between the offense and the new QB, courtesy of Arizona, that ain't working well enough, not to where it needs to be.
Oh, I mean, okay, outside of his Rookie of the Year award in 2019, where if you look at his numbers when he won Rookie of the Year, I mean, we've seen better offensive Rookie of the Year numbers over the course of time.
Yeah, he's never, and I can be certainly corrected if I'm wrong, he's never blown up the stat sheet over the totality of the season. It's never been.
Played in one playoff game, moonwalked into the end zone, threw it right to a ram for a pick six.
Yeah, the biggest, I mean, just the biggest wow factor of his career is probably those 10 rushing touchdowns he had, maybe his second year.
Yep, and O'Connell really loves when his quarterbacks run.
Yeah, and it's really worked out well for Kyler when he puts himself maybe in compromising positions. Yeah. So, yes, no, you're right. Overall, in totality, the body of work at this stage is better for Carson Wentz. But this transaction that was made is under the idea that in this offense that those sorts of things can be unlocked. And that's why I think it would be bad if the elder statesman, and I'm going to root Bismarck go crazy, no doubt about it. But
maybe it's an oxymoron.
Kyler not winning this job I think that would be a problem.
Why? He costs $1 million. I mean, it's $1 million for somebody who, I mean, he has a lot of shiny toy to him.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of shiny things during his career. But I don't want Carson Wentz eliminated from this conversation. Truly is the best overall quarterback on the Minnesota Vikings. Hey, now, is he? I don't know. Only time will tell, Davey.
And that's why I just can't. If KO comes out, J.J. McCarthy is the week 1 starter.
Oh, come on, Paul.
I will trust because I trust in the head coach. But other than that, at this stage, given everything that we know and what we've seen, the kid from North Dakota is the most adept at what we're trying to accomplish.
So about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 minutes from now in the side studio, the score 680.
Yeah.
Copyright superstar Mike Morris. There's going to be, well, where did that come from, Paul?
Yes.
And the answer is going to be radio, early June.
You're listening live to Paul Allen.
Wrongly suggest right around 9:45. It was as good a World Cup preview as you'll get, if only to hear two people continually say, Papa! Papa, gana! Hey, Papa, gana! We have found our World Cup correspondent and cannot wait to reveal it and unfurl it because he's kicking down the proverbial barn. Tomorrow's the Friday football feast. For Nordo, I'm Paul Allen. May God bless you and all of your families. And thanks as always for listening to KFAN. Here comes the program. It's next.
If it's good news or money, leave a message.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.